Hello. I have been messing around with the Baldur's Gate 3 toolkit, and I have absolutely zero experience with modding or coding or anything like that, except like a Python class I did for bioinformatics like 10 years ago. But this toolkit and the Moonglasses addon has made me obsessed with figuring out how to make mods. And I've learned from watching YouTube videos, just fooling around for about 150 hours at this point, and also trying to ask my stupid questions in the Discord. And one thing I have been missing would be more videos about how to do the simple things, like small things that can really lift your mod if you're working on a story mod. And I thought, with my limited experience, I could make a couple of little YouTube vids that might help others. So, with no further ado, this is my little video on how to make text appear over objects you interact with in the world, and perhaps even having your player character answer. And I'll show you how to do this in this little video, and I will paste the code I used in the video description. So I hope you enjoy. So step 1 would be to have a level, and then you want to insert an item into this level, don't you? So we go over to root templates, and I actually played around with this before. I quite want to talk to a mushroom. So let's see what sort of mushroom we can find. Not mushroom, yeah, maybe a mushroom soup. All right, so it's a really good idea to create a copy of this item so you don't mess it up in the base game. So you can go right click it, create new from selected, and I will move this over here. I will put it in my mod, so this would be level 7 is what it is called. It's a mushroom soup, and I will just call it test. Create it, it will show up here, and you just drag it into your level. Since it's a quite small mushroom soup, I will make it, you can move it, and then you can click over here to make it larger. So a very large mushroom soup. Place it in an appropriate area, and there you go, we have the item. So how do we make it display an overhead text when you click on it? If I click on this mushroom now, I'll pick it up. Yeah, well, something happened. I don't know. It's not even in my inventory, so it's not been rendered like part of the world yet, I think. So yeah, let's go back. So now we need to write a dialogue for our mushroom soup. Then you can go up to the dialogue and editor. It'll open up like this, and you can just start making something here. It's reasonable for it to be a greeting. So since we are just going to have one line show up over the mushroom soup, it will also be an end node. And what will it say? It can say something like, I am most certainly not poisonous. And then we will put certainly in italics because it is most certainly true. That's what it's saying. I will go and add the speakers. The speaker will be mushroom soup. So I would assume that this is the one that shows up here, and we can check that just by seeing, oh, it's test number 2. So I actually made 2 mushroom soups, and this is the one we want to talk to. And I will also add us, because we are the people present in the communication with the soup. All right, they are added. Now, you might notice, if you can see it, that now the mushroom soup will be talking. And one important thing that took a long while for me to figure out is that if you want this dialogue to show up just as text over the screen, text on the screen when you interact with the item, you need to put this to automated. All right, we have done it. So let's save it as level 7 soup chat. All right, saving the dialogue, and So you noticed that when we made the dialogue, and this is very important when you're making dialogues in general, you need for every node to unclick impossible. So the impossible tag will make the node not show up in dialogue. And it has been unchecked, and I still get this error message, and I don't think it matters, at least not in any of the conversations I've made, so I'm just ignoring it. And secondly, we have to make a timeline for this dialogue. So you go to timeline, generate, full copper, should place it in your level. Timeline will be generated, and I will make a different video on timeline generation later, but this is actually where you can put in a timeline template to make it easier to create the cinematics and the character animations. But our mushroom soup will be quite static, so I don't care about this. I will just go next. Alright, so the timeline appears, and we're not going to do anything with the timeline, so we just close it. And I'm going to save. Again. Save this again. Ignore the error message. Fine. Okay, so now we have our dialogue. We have our soup. And our soup, when clicked on, sends a use event to Osiris, which means that we need to tell Osiris what to do. So that will be the next step. Okay, we are ready to write something in Osiris. So how do we do that? I am not going to explain all the details or anything. I think a lot of people both understand this and do this a lot better than me. But this is a quite simple little Osiris script. So we will open up the story editor. And I guess it's just a good practice to generate definitions. Generate definitions, build and reload before doing anything, at least in my experience, because sometimes if you're putting in a lot of items or you're making a lot of these dialogues, Osiris won't catch that they exist in the level, and then you get error messages when trying to save and everything. So yeah. And then we will make a new script. We should call it something. So it's in the level 7 mod, and we can call it, just for clarity's sake, level 7, and we call it soup chat, perhaps. All right. And then you see here in Osiris, you have the init section, the KB section, and the exit section. And we are just going to use the KB section. We don't really have to put anything here. And let's see if we can do it. So I actually have an example script that, yeah. So for the Osiris script, just like a cooking show, I've now skipped to showing you the actual script because I didn't save the last video. But anyways, how it goes is if UseStarted, and this is an event, and the thing, like, you have to figure out which commands basically you want to use for things to happen, and there are limited amount of guides on this, but if you find something, you can put it in there and you can see what you have to input for it to work. And here it says character and item, so that should be reasonably easy to figure out. You are the character talking, you put player, and then you put in your item. And one thing I did want to show you was that it's quite easy to put in your item. I remove it now and say that you just write soup and you press Ctrl plus space. You know, the game will, well, the toolkit will suggest to you different items that will match this soup word. And thankfully, our soup test number 2 is on the top, so you just press enter and you get that. And then, if the player starts using the soup, we can use this procedure, process use item with dialogue. That is a bit more complex here. And this procedure asks for the player, the item, and the dialogue. So you see I put the player, then you have the soup again, and then you have to put in your dialogue. So I'll remove it now and we'll think about it. So we called our dialogue soup chat, didn't we? So what if I just write soup and Control plus space, and actually the only dialogue we have in this level is the soup chat. So there you go. And very exciting, we press build. Look at this, it always stops here, so it will either fail or it will work. Very exciting. So let's see if it works. It failed. Why did it fail? I don't know. How interesting. I think it's because we are missing a parenthesis perhaps. Let's try to build it again. Build success, so that was it. So those really small errors can give you a lot of weird error messages, and just, you know, breathe and see what's missing. Okay, so then we will generate definitions, build and reload. So we've made the dialogue, we've put in the item, we've written the script. So I was noticing that I'm missing one thing from the video, and that is that we have to just double check, right? That when we click our soup,
Hong Kong?
yes, Hong Kong Colac. When we click our soup, that it will send a use event to Osiris. So I have now clicked the soup, and then we go into the sidebar and look at all the options down here. Yeah, and then on use actions, you can send the use event to Osiris. And yeah, so you will find some sort of scenario where it, for example, story use, send the use event to Osiris. All right, fine. No conditions, so make sure that that's enabled. And I also did another thing. Since I deleted the last video, I will repeat it. I put a status on my soup, and that in particular would be the Cassador's Palace pentagram buff. Which is one of my favorites. Basically, here you can go in and you can, okay, I want my soup to glow. Yeah, I want it to glow with a vampire pentagram. Okay, put in this effect. Yeah, and we will see it happen. Okay, so now we should be ready. Black here.
Let's go!
Says, let's go. We are going to talk to this soup. All right. Interact. Yes, I am most certainly not poisonous. Try it again. Yep, still not poisonous. So this dialogue, this text appears over the item. I don't quite know yet how to make it appear over the character's head, but I'm perhaps I'll play around with it a little, see if we can make Colac say something in response. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if we can make Colac reply, actually. So I'm back in the dialogue editor, and this is the end node, and we don't want that, so we just unclick it, and we will add a question. So when you are speaking, in this case Colac, it will be a question. And if you NPCs replying to you are answers, and that's just the way it's structured, which is a bit hard to grasp, but it makes a lot of sense once you get used to it. You have to make sure it's impossible. Sorry, it's not impossible. And this will be the end node then. Or no, maybe we'll try to make the soup answer, okay? And the answer from the soup will be the end node. Okay, so Colac says, and I don't know, sometimes it goes a bit white, but usually that's fixed by moving shit around. Colac will answer what in the hell's a talking soup? The mushroom will reply, you're imagining things, Colac. Okay, let's save it. Ignore the error messages and generate a timeline. Yeah, it has a timeline link, but we can overwrite it. If you are working on some cool cinematics and stuff, you definitely don't want to overwrite the timeline. You want to refresh it, but it doesn't matter. You know, theoretically speaking, this should just work now. So let us see what happens. Yeah, all right. So everything is showing up at the same time. I don't know why that's happening. Let's see if we can figure it out. So, all right. I paused this recording to mess around for a little while, and it didn't actually take all that long to figure out at least one way to make this conversation go the way we want it to. We want Colac to meet the soup. Click on it. The soup will talk to her. She will talk to it, and then it will reply back. And actually, there are a couple of interesting settings here. You can actually, if you look into this little sidebar for the node, there are a couple of things you can do. I did mess around with trying to make the nodes exclusive. I don't know if that really affects this. I didn't have time to try, but more interestingly, you can set a node transition. So the node will wait here 1 second to progress, and then it will wait, the next one will wait for, where is it, 5 seconds, and the last one 12 seconds. But I think this number is how long it will take to end the actual node, because what I noticed is that if I didn't put in this little buffer cinematic sequence here, that nothing happens in the cinematic, it's just to have an empty node in between, and set that to 5 seconds to progress, I couldn't like separate the things that are being said. But when it's set up like this now, I just saved it, and you can update the timeline if you want. It doesn't really matter because we're not, I mean, this is an automated dialogue that happens in the world. And then let's see what happens. So compare it to last time, but everything just happened all at once. Now it looks like this. The soup talks. Karlach talks. And then because of the buffer we put in, look at it, the soup replies. So that's my guide for, well, my first YouTube video. So let me know if you like it. I'm happy to make more. I have a few, at least a few more tricks up my sleeve, and I hope you enjoyed. See you later.